share one of the aspects of my framework that I share with retailers and restaurateurs, I guess you would say, especially focusing on the independents.
Do the restaurateurs, excuse me, just one second. Do restaurateurs have more money than people that own restaurants?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, you can ask any of them that. Yeah. Now you got me choking on an almond. Wash it down with my Celsius. So we're going to talk about how important having a team is. We know that, one of the biggest fallacies for small business owners is the fact that, oh, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. That is probably the most crippling philosophy that you can have as a small business owner. If you have that, if you think that, if you act that way, your business will never, ever reach its full potential. It may grow, yeah, because of your own sweat, blood, and tears, and at the risk of losing your family, your health, your sanity, but you cannot think that way. So we know that we have to have a team, but we also want that team to be trained, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love about this topic and where you're at, and now is great that you can talk about your business, right? What you're doing and how you're helping. But if you go back and listen to our first 16 episodes, you're going to hear team members, all that all the way through. So we're now going to go and say, how do we do this? How do you develop this strong team?
Right. So give me a little creative grace with this. I'm focusing in on a few industries, particularly the ones that I work with. So when I say product knowledge, maybe it's a service knowledge that you need to have. But product service, we're gonna package that as the end result. We got to have that. Whatever the customer, your target customer, is buying, that's what we're talking about when I say product. So,
all right, great.
Anyways, so here's a problem with what's that? I got this fly that's going around me. I feel like the giant in the Mickey Mouse. Just
you asked for grace. You asked for grace, and I provided it to you, and then the fly came in.
Then the fly came in and landed on my nose. Okay. Problem with corporate training or any of our training for the most part is I wrote down, it's boring, it's cumbersome. Sometimes, and most of the time, it's even obsolete. It's a one and done. It's rarely revisited and almost never updated. Does that sound like your typical mission statement or what?
Yeah, and we've covered that.
We've covered that. So as I'm brainstorming the typical training programs that I come across, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's boring, it's stale, it checks the boxes, but it doesn't inspire, it doesn't motivate, it doesn't really inform on what the teammates need to know about, and therefore they check out. And I'm like, wow, this is just like a typical mission statement that we read and not a motivating statement that we wanted. So that, I just thought that was kind of funny when I was reviewing that. What are some of the problems you see with training in your area, Mike?
So unfortunately, I would take a step back. Prior to COVID, right, training was done in literal classrooms. And if you were going to do, say, leadership training, it could be a day, half day, 3 days. And it was, here's a book, like literally spiral bound book with 100 pages. And we go through that over 3 days, fill in the blank, and we walk away from there. And what you find is that book is not tied with your compensation system, with your reward system, with your review system, nothing. So you walk out of there, like they say, if you watch a movie or read a book or something, if you don't do something actionable with that very quick, it's all out the window. So your company just wrote a check for thousands of dollars to do training and to have very little of it stick. Post-COVID, things improved a little bit, but you and I have talked about some really good methods to fix that. And I'm guessing you're going to start to lay that out on why that's the wrong way of doing training.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Way to steal my thunder as usual, Mike.
Dude.
No, and it's so true because I'll jump ahead just a little bit, even though I didn't necessarily want to. 9 times out of 10, when I talk to on behalf of a client, I talk to a vendor. They're bringing on a new product. They want to get them trained in this and that. They're like, hey, let us come on into the location. We'll do a training. I'll bring some pizza, this and that. And I'm like, great, wonderful. You're gonna do that that'll be like a 2-3 hour session. And I'm like, first of all, if you're going to talk 2 or 3 hours about one product line, people are checking out. Second of all, you're not going to get everybody you need to. You're not going to get your full staff there. They're just usually not all available at that one time. And you got information overload. It's like they're taking a drink from a fire hydrant all at once. And so, but that's what 90% of vendors, providers are looking to disseminate, how they disseminate their information, or it's all just done on a private platform that you have to log into. Every employee has to create a new username, password, things like that. It becomes cumbersome. You never want to do it. And then once you do it, Lord have mercy, you're not going to go revisit it again because you forgot your username and password and this and that. So we want to create something that's uniform, that's simple, and that really is gonna work and move forward, move the team forward, and not bog it down. So that's kind of where I'm going at. So let me read this. What if we could create a training system that didn't just train our team, but it also motivated them, it galvanized them, and it gave them only the relevant information they need. I mean, that would be great, right? Forget the OSHA crap.
Yeah.
Sorry, you don't need that.
Yeah.
Put that in your typical onboarding. This is not what I'm talking about with the training. So you have your foundational stuff, which just is all safety and that in that ballpark. But I'm talking about what is going to drive the company forward, what training, what information has to be disseminated in order to push your staff and meet the goals that we have set, the KPIs that we have set in our motivating statement.
I got to applaud you, dude, because I was just going to ask you that question. How do you make sure that what you're bringing in, how do you select? So if you had 100 suppliers and they're all coming in and saying, we're going to push, product training, and you have to take a step back and go, what's the area of the business we're trying to move forward, right? It's outdoor recreation, whatever that is. So you just tied it to what are those critical, what are the KPIs? What's our motivating statements say? We're aligning, we're going to take those requests or request specific training that aligns perfectly with that. And those are the only ones we're going to do.
Right. And there's been certain times I've told clients, don't train them on that stuff. And they're like, what are you talking about? There was a large power equipment company. I said, don't train them on that stuff. And they're like, well, don't they need to know? I said, you're not making enough money to take up their mental space. I said, you make more on one of those little bags of dog food than you do on that $300 piece of equipment. And I said, so do not let that become the focus. Now that's fine. People come on in there and buy it and give them the basic knowledge, but you do not need to have everybody trained in on that, because if you focus on that, that's all they're going to think about.
I just a quick aside. Have you seen, I was just thinking this, I love YouTube. So if you had a piece of power equipment and somebody did a really good video on that, you could just put a QR code, they snap on that, they get this great video about that piece of equipment. They don't even have to interact with your team at that point. You don't have to train them on it. And, they can quickly get, I don't know if hardware stores, are doing those kinds of things.
Yes and no. It's hard to get people to use that in the aisles, although that has happened more. The adoption rate has increased. I was actually one of the first in our area. that I even know of to have done that. And that was probably, 10 years ago. And the adoption rate was really, really low on that. But I do believe, like you said, after COVID, it did get much, much better. So,
So you're focusing on the critical few. You don't have infinite time.
right.
You have very specific things you're trying to do with your team. Here's the critical few things that we want to train you on. And that's where you're going to spend time.
Yeah. And so what I call it is our living training platform, LTP, basically. And the point is that this is not a one and done document. This is something that you add to it keeps on morphing and getting better, that continuous improvement, so that people keep referencing back to it. We need to have it, but there's a few in order to have a living training platform. And this is for those people who either have a training system set up with already through a vendor, but it's too cumbersome and it's wasting too much time, or for those store business restaurant owners who actually don't have any training program and it's just a manual. So that's what this is for. Again, one thing I do want to mention is, if you can stop the in-person training, do that. One experiment we did, I tried it with a client and it was fantastic. They were like, well, let us come on in and we'll do an in-store training. I said, that's great. You go ahead and do that. But one thing that's mandatory is we do a recorded training. And they're like, I don't know how to do that. I said, don't worry. All you got to do is hop on Zoom or Google Meet like we're doing here. I ask you specific questions. You answer them, and then I can edit it down. And then you have a condensed, wonderful, instead of a 30-minute, well, this is what we do type of thing, you got it right on down to like 15 minutes of good, hardcore information that gets absorbed by your team. So anyways, that's where we want to go to, is more of a video format. I'll cover a few of the aspects of what to train on. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to ask. So I bet most companies don't think they can do this. So I love this, Brian. You're saying, I want training on your product, on your service, whatever it is. However, I don't want to do it necessarily live because I want to make sure that it's available to everybody. But could you please do it in a format that works for my team? And I'm going to prompt you with questions, whoever it is, and you guys figure out how to fill in, sort of fill in the blanks. But that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I'm going to give you
a
a hash mark for that one.
Thank you.
Big win.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. So that's worked out extremely well. It is, and it's been something that we can continually, the clients can continually reintroduce too, seasonally. Let's say it's, I don't know, let's say it's birdseed, and then everybody feeds the birds in the Northeast in the fall and winter, so it's like, okay, well, let's reintroduce that video to get the new people retrained, so, and then to refresh it for those others, to refocus our attention, which is what we need because there's so many things pulling us in different directions. So anyways, what I have is four key ideas to keep in mind when you're creating your living training platform. You're going to probably want to have it accessible to everybody. That's one of the biggest things, but I'll just keep that in the back of your mind. Is what I am creating, where am I going to put it that it's going to be easy to access for just about everybody? So number one, train your team on only what they need to know. Only. Do not get stuck in the corporate history, what they stand for, any of that crap that doesn't matter to the end user. All they want to know is, I have a problem. Will this solve it? How will it solve it? What steps will it take? So anyways, in a nutshell, do not get stuck in the nuances, the touchy-feely stuff that generally the companies want to push on you. So That's extremely important. Isolate the products or services that you want to train down to the what's the biggest sellers. First of all, the top 80%. We talked about the 80-20 rule before. You want to know where to start with your 80%, the top 80% of it's going to be 20% of the products or services.
Right.
That's almost always, every time I have run that number, it is always within 3% of being that way.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love that. It's such a simple,
it's incredible
rule of thumb, and it works.
Yeah. So you're going to be looking at 20% of products or services that create 80% of your revenue. That way you're not focusing on emotional aspects. Okay. So you got that down, and you're going to train them only on what they need to know. Number 2, information must be easily updated and communicated. Whatever platform you have set, make sure it is something that you can add to, take away from, and that it can be easily communicated to your staff. Again, focus on the selling points, like, for instance, problem aspects that a customer may be interested in, not that darn company history. I usually give my clients just a simple form, and it really goes on and follows basically the process. Hey, send this to your vendors, make them do the work. Don't you have to do all this work? They know that product. They sold you on that product. So you get from them, hey, what problems does it solve? How does it solve it? How is life benefited afterwards? A lot of things that fall into very similar to Donald Miller's way of communicating, but it just creates a very simple framework for each product. And before you know it, you have a PDF set up of each product, and they send it back to you. So focus on the problem. Hey, what problem does this clearly solve? How does it solve it? What steps need to be taken to solve it? Is it simple? And then how does life look like after it? That's it. That's basically it. We go into detail on a few other things, but if you get that down, that is an amazing bit of information that is almost always overlooked. And the best thing is, it's simple and it flows well so that your team can consume hundreds of pieces of that information in. So what are your thoughts, Mike?
Oh, I love this. It is, and there's so many simple ways to just set this up. I mean, I've seen so many businesses just using the Google tools, right? As a platform to start out with. Do you have recommendations on that, or is that typically what your clients are finding, that just, hey,
Yeah,
do this simple, set up a team on Google and go from there?
yeah. So when I started talking with different clients, the problem was, we got to go on to this. We got to log in here for this one. We got to log in here for this one. We got to log in here. So it's what we want is something that's uniform. And so basically we ended up, and I advise all the clients to use the Facebook, because the majority of people have a Facebook account, and we set up a private Facebook group and restructure it as a training group. And that just creates a wonderful atmosphere for it. One thing that's great about the Facebook groups is, once you start getting the information in there, every member of that Facebook group, you mandate that every employee is a member of that Facebook group. If they're not on the Facebook group, well, you create or if they're not a Facebook member, well, you create a Facebook account for them. This is just for the store, for the training. Okay. Right. Then they can pop on in there. What we saw was, and I'm probably jumping ahead, this creates a number 3 is easy to access. And that's what we wanted with billions of people on something like Facebook or a platform that is almost universal. You want to have it easy to access for all your employee ages. You know, some of the older people may not be into TikTok, some may not be into Instagram or whatever, but the majority of people have a Facebook account. So that's why we went with that. Now you can pick your own. The key is that it's accessible, that it stays relevant, easy to update, and that it allows one of my other aspects is that it allows the community of employees to communicate with each other in some way.
That's what I was going to ask you. Can you, so when you post this information, Brian, in this, and I love this idea of, I never even thought about that, setting up a Facebook group. Are you able to then, can they comment then specific to a document? And then also have communication. So you can almost create your own sort of FAQs based on what you're, once you start training and then using that information with your clients, as you learn more, you can add more of your own content, locally, that it just enhances what you got with the training.
Right. Absolutely. And the cool thing is, if you do decide, number one, it's free, which is wonderful.
That's a big win.
I have a client that they were doing this and they decided they wanted to integrate their training platform into their payroll, which I love, because in order to get paid, you have to clock in every day. And when you clock in every day, you see new training available. So I love that. So it has to stay front of mind. Now, if you don't want to pay for a platform that does that and want to have something that's a little more universal and flexible, that's where the Facebook learning groups come into play. And then you set up modules according to what you want to train them on. And then you can always add more to it, get feedback. And then I experimented with one company, and it was incredible. The feedback you're getting, all of a sudden you can't get boo out of these people after you train them, and they're making little comments. Hey, that's cool. I think we should promote this and this and this. And before you know, it's bing, 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 which is what we want, is people leaving energized. And the best thing is you can also keep track of, you also want to keep them accountable. So you want them energized, you want them informed, energized, and accountable, right? So you want them to, you want to know who is on there and who is doing what. And so there is an accountability aspect where they have to click it once it's done, and who has watched it and things like that. So that part's really kind of cool. That's all built into Facebook and their algorithms.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I was just going to mention that is so powerful. And I think the other cool thing is, as we've talked about experimenting, you'll start to learn from your team. Hey, here's what we're requesting from our suppliers. Here's the information we're getting. As you start going and they start interacting with each other, it's like, hey, could we ask them these questions, right? Or could we actually get for these type of products, could we actually get a video done? So your team is actually, improving the way training is being done, because they're giving you live feedback on it. Because if they don't find value in it, Brian, right? If they don't find value, if they don't understand why you're giving them that training, if it doesn't align with what your goals, your primary aim is, all those things, this will fall flat. You set it up in a socialized environment like Facebook groups, and then allow them to talk between themselves and provide feedback on it. Now you've got to your point, a living, breathing, training program that will respond to what they need.
Well, and one of the greatest things about it is the fact that this communication is not one way. It is two-way all of the time. And so you may not have any training this week, maybe a 5-minute clip on, hey, these are the specials coming up. This is what we're going to be promoting over the next 30 days or whatever. Or keep in mind, these are our 3 KPIs we're going to be pushing for the next 90 days. It could be any of that. But the point is, people, once you communicate that, they can give comments back. They can give a little video clip. They take a picture. I've had a lot of them I've seen where they take pictures and they're like, hey, should we promote this? Should we do this? And it's all there. And it's like, wow, that's great. So really, really good environment. Now, again, it doesn't have to be Facebook, But the key is ask yourself, what is going to be most universal and easy to access for my employees?
Yeah. Wow, fantastic. This is
So, um, and my big thing is make it fun and interesting. You know, um, don't just do PDFs. When you get that PDF, that doc back from a specific vendor, and they fill out your questionnaire that you've said, hey, list the top 3 items that we're carrying, the problems, the whole 9 yards. You have a script for a video right there. You have the script. You can go right through it and just be like, hey guys, wanted to hop on real quick and just let you know about the new bird seed we got going on. One of the best things about this is it's high in black oil sunflower seed, and it doesn't have millet and blah, 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 whatever. And then here are the reasons why you want that. You're done in 90 seconds. And they're like, wow, that is pretty cool. And then you can attach a PDF to it if you want to, but it really makes training and the interest in your team blow up.
That's incredible. And I like, as we talked about, our video or our podcast is sponsored by now Google and Facebook.
Yes. Check is in the mail.
Exactly. But if what you're doing is taking out all the barriers to getting this done, right? You're asking your suppliers who want to help you to provide pertinent information to you in a way that you can use it in 2 ways that you just spoke of. One is internal training, but 2 is to take that very same information and push it out to your customers, right?
Well,
to get them interested in it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can do that as a video to your customers. Absolutely. Or you can have it as an internal training video. My point is you can do it both ways. Once you get comfortable with editing, and I've trained a few of the clients on editing, they have a blast now with it. I mean, there is some fantastic video editing software out there that's cheap. That's cheap. It allows us to do some amazingly crazy things and fun things. So anyways, but that goes deep into the weeds. But the point is, getting back at it, train your team on only what they need to know. That's number 1. Make sure it's those top 20% of the items that create 80% of the revenue for you. Make sure that whatever platform you're using, it's easily updated and communicated, and update it kind of like what we were talking about with KPIs last week and the week before, was the fact, update and over inform, and then you can scale it back once you know what's sticking. So update, even on little things, because that's going to constantly push things to the front of your team's minds. Number 3, easy access by everyone. Have a place that they don't have to go to, but that they want to go to. Make this an environment that they want to check things out, maybe make a few jokes. Competition is a great way of doing that too, obviously. Right. And that was my bonus point there. Make it a community and even a competition. Don't think of this as a stale training program where we're going to pay them with their fake attention with a slice of pizza. And I've seen that happen so many times, All right, no, make this a community that they want to get into and want to keep on learning and improving themselves, because you want them improving themselves. So, yeah, what do you got?
I'm floored by, again, you're in such a simple idea around Facebook groups, and this concept of turning towards your suppliers to help you do literally custom training for your team. And they're going to love to do this for you, because they know if they customize it for you, you're going to use it. Right. They may also find that this is something that they could offer to others. The idea that it's on a platform that's ubiquitous. I mean, almost everybody has a Facebook account, and it's very easy to get access to. And the other thing is, it's not like you shall not touch these videos. You shall not, right? It is, no, we want you to interact with videos, the PDFs, provide feedback, FAQs, whatever it is. It becomes a social thing that's happening where it becomes a fun thing for them to do. And what was back in the past, just a download of information that you were supposed to remember. Now it's, as soon as you learn this stuff, you start using it right away. That's where you get those behaviors to change. And they're pushing is not the right word, but they're making sure that their customers are seeing the critical, the solutions that you have available for them, for their specific needs that align with what your business, whatever your primary aim is, right? You're trying to make sure that the training that's being done is very specific to driving that for your customers. And they're going to see that the more knowledgeable your team is on those products, your customers will see that, right? They're going to understand
absolutely.
something going on in that business.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, in the end, what we saw was not immediate, but I mean, we're probably within 4 weeks, an increased ROI on revenue, average ticket sales. Some of these things where I experimented with it. Increased engagement by the employees, saw more of an excitement when they're like, okay, well, we know this. Okay, that's great. Can't wait to recommend this. And then the third thing was not only an increased engagement individually, but an increase in community and camaraderie where they're like, okay, where they're messing with each other online. Now they're messing with each other in the businesses and things. And that's something that we strive for as business owners as it is. And this training kind of doesn't do it all on its own, but it certainly facilitates it. So that's why I'm a big believer in this the living training platform instead of just a group of DVDs and a manual.